Sound check. Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Nathan Thompson with the Wellness Way, Yorkville. Happy Monday, guys. It's good to see you. So good to see you. Thank you so much for joining our live broadcast. If you are watching right now, just give me a wave, say hello. Let me also know where you are watching from. Right now, we're broadcasting on Facebook at Dr. Nathan Thompson, on Facebook at the Wellness Way, Yorkville, on YouTube at Dr. Nathan Thompson, and then also on the Rumble platform, although I can't see your comments on there, um, at Dr. Nathan Thompson. So broadcasting right now to many, many different platforms. Very good to see you guys. Thank you guys. Wow, we got a lot of people watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching. And let me also know where you're watching from. I always appreciate to see people all over the world that are watching the broadcast. Thank you so much for doing that. So tonight, I want to go over with you something that comes up. It comes up with patients, and it comes up. At some point, people will ask me this, so they'll reach out and send me a message in regards to that. So I think this question needs to be answered very scientifically, very succinctly, and also with a lot of authority as well. I'll explain that in just a little bit. But the title of tonight is Why Herbal Powders and Teas Don't Work. All right. So if you ever heard of chamomile tea, sleepy time tea, I'm going to show you why you have problems with that. Number one, why there can be problems with that, and why, boiling and grinding and things like that, or trying to do it yourself, why that is just, kind of it's kind of a futile effort, and I'll explain to you why here in just a second. So I'll explain this to you, but I also will go over a lot of questions that people might have in regards to herbs and how they're extracted and things like that, just to help you to understand. Guys, everything that we do, there's a reason behind it. So we're not just, just kind of flying from the chandeliers, in regards to herbs and supplements and things like that. There's a very, very specific reason. When we're finished and you watch this whole entire video, you'll be able to understand why. Okay. Now, right now it's January 26th. So I'm celebrating a lot of birthdays within my family. My dad just had a birthday. I have a niece that just had a birthday. My daughter has a birthday tomorrow. I have another son that's got a birthday, 3 days from now. Another son that's going to have a birthday in about 2 weeks. Hey, Elias. He watches all the live videos because he wants to see his dad on TV. If he only knew. However, over the last several days, we're on day 26 of the Wellness Way No Sugar Challenge. So, yes, 26 days of no sugar. However, I have had carbohydrates, and that's not what the No Sugar Challenge is. So, and in fact, what a lot of people don't realize is yes, I have been doing it. Yes, I haven't cheated. And yes, I've actually been doing it longer than 26 days because what a lot of people may not realize is I basically started right after Christmas. So I'm just like, why would I wait, until January 1st when I can easily do something on my own? So I started it, basically doing a 3-day fast, broke the fast, went straight into no sugar at that point. So I actually am probably on day 31 and day 32. I'm tracking markers. I'm looking at that. I'm tracking in body and things like that. So a lot of people are doing it with me. However, one of the things that I always wish is I wish more of my patients would do this as well. So, if you haven't got on the No Sugar Challenge and you're from the Chicagoland area, please make sure that you do get registered for our next event, which will be the No Sugar Challenge. And we'll be giving you a lot of things. I'll give you a little bit more information on that here in just a second. However, one of the things that I am tracking is I'm tracking muscle mass, I'm tracking body fat, and I really don't care about my weight. Okay. So I've gone into and in our office, we have something that's known as an InBody, which is probably one of the most consistent, accurate ways in order to track body fat percentage and look at your muscle mass over time. So I've done a couple of InBodies over the past couple of weeks, and I'm not doing it every single day, but I'll look at it probably once a week just to see, progress and things like that. So I went in and did an InBody test, which is very easy to do. It only takes about 5 minutes in order to do it. And this is the latest one that I just did. So if you look at my weight, I'm 256 pounds. Although if you saw me in person, I probably, yes, I'm a fairly large person. I could be a little bit physically intimidating. I apologize for that. I don't try to. However, if you look at that as far as being in the fitness industry for the last 15 years, very consistently working on, doing a lot of heavy weightlifting, and I'll explain that a little bit more at the weight loss event, is that I'm not so interested in what my weight is, and what I'm more interested in is how much skeletal muscle mass I have. And I'm also very interested in knowing what my body fat percentage is. So I actually just looked at my body fat percentage. I'm not trying to look like a bodybuilder. I actually think if this would get me in trouble if I did this as a reel. I think bodybuilding is one of the most narcissistic sports out there. I'll go ahead and say it. Because when you look at that, having a 16% body fat is, yeah, it's high if I was bodybuilding, but I don't really care about that. But when you're talking about from a health perspective, 16% does not negatively impact health at all. In fact, really what I'm looking at is I'm looking at muscle mass. However, one of my goals is to try to get down to 13% body fat. And that's all based off of aesthetics. Okay. My wife thinks I look sexy no matter what. Thank you, honey. However, I think that if I did lower down body fat a little bit, I probably would need to lose probably, in order for that to happen, 8 to 9 pounds of visceral fat. And so I am measuring this in order to just see if I can get my body fat percentage down just a little bit. So one of the ways to do that is, yes, actually going no sugar. And yes, if you look at this, it does not happen overnight. It happens slowly over time, which is why that I'm not going to just throw the baby out with the bathwater once January 31st comes, is I will continue doing it probably for the next 3 months or so, in order for those changes to be able to take place and for those changes to actually happen. So I will not be getting on an InBody every single week, but I'm just looking to see and tracking my progress just to see what I need to work on, what I can improve, and things like that, and give feedback. It gives me feedback as far as what I'm doing and how I should be improving. However, one of the things why I really just don't care, because if you looked at my height versus my weight, I would be considered clinically obese. And if you saw me, in fact, I was talking to Dr. Patrick Flynn, who just completed a 22-day fast, by the way. And I said, "Hey, Patrick, how about at the end of February, we do a competition. We both take our shirts off for social media, and that'll give us a little bit of motivation to keep going. So, but if you look at that, I'm considered clinically obese. However, I have a high amount of muscle mass. I don't have a lot of body fat, although I could pare down a little bit of my body fat as well. But it's not negatively, in fact, impacting my blood sugars or anything like that. And so this is why I really do think that the number on a scale is absolutely stupid, because there's a lot of different things. I'll talk a little bit more about this at the weight loss event, why the number on the scale is absolutely stupid and why you really need to be looking at muscle mass and you need to be looking at body fat percentage too. And here's one of the reasons why. Okay. Here's one of the reasons why. And yes, I do measure my average blood sugars, A1C, and my A1C usually sits at about 5.2, 5.3. And there's a reason why I want to keep it at that level. And it has to do with neurological degeneration, especially of the brain, which is why blood sugars can be so damaging to the brain, especially if they get elevated, because it causes accelerated atrophy of the brain tissue. I don't want elevated blood sugars for a long period of time. But if you look at this article right here, this comes from Nutrition and Diabetes from a couple of years ago. And here's the title: The Association Between Muscle Mass and Diabetes Prevalence, Independent of Body Fat Distribution in Adults Under 50 Years of Age. And yes, I'm still under 50 years of age. But they looked at muscle mass and they looked at prevalence of type 2 diabetes. And here's how they concluded this: less muscle mass was associated with greater diabetes prevalence, independent of body fat distribution in men. They said low muscle mass could be a causal factor in the development of type 2 diabetes or a correlated marker of higher metabolic risk. And this is what they talk about. Do I really think that you need to keep your body fat percentage low? Yes, men, you should really be focused on trying to get your body fat percentage at least under 20 to 23%. Ladies, you can be a little bit higher just because of that you're a female. And so it is, you can have a little bit higher body fat percentage. However, one of the things, especially as people get older, you should be working on trying to preserve or to increase your muscle mass. That can come with a little bit of challenges as people get older because they have a lower hormone response as far as testosterone if your lifestyle is bad. But this is why it's really all about muscle mass, muscle mass, muscle mass, muscle mass. And it's also how you are training yourself. This is why I will say this. So if this is pretty general, but it's pretty true. Less sugar, more muscle mass. Less cardio and more high intensity training and more weightlifting. Less processed foods and more fiber. And I really think that 99% of Americans could really stand to improve this quite a bit. And this is one of the reasons why coming up on Saturday, January 31st, 2026. So it's this Saturday coming up at 9 o'clock a.m. We will be doing our no sugar weight loss challenge. Okay. This is an in-person event. Now, this changed my life so much. I even wrote a book on this. However, one of the things you'll realize is I really never promote the book. And I spent basically a whole year of just blood, sweat, and tears of just writing it and editing it and, like getting websites ready and things like that. And then I discovered something after I wrote the book. I was like, people are not protocols. So this would benefit men quite a bit. However, was doing challenges at our gym 2 to 3 times a year. It was always frustrating. And the reason why it was frustrating was just because I saw a lot of people just give up. Like they just didn't have the no quit attitude. They didn't have the fortitude to keep going. And I never understood that because I have the attitude like, yep, things are going to get tough. I'm just not going to quit. I'm not going to give up. And so I expected other people to have that attitude, and most people don't. And that's why, guys, I just don't understand this, why people give up so easily. So it kind of frustrated me a little bit, but my staff asked me, hey, let's do this. And I said, let's do it. And let's make sure that we're helping people make it as easy and as functional as possible. It's not going to be easy, but it was going to be worth it. So if you're from the Chicagoland area and you want to come to the next no sugar weight loss event, I will explain to you during that time some of the biggest obstacles that people have towards actually achieving fat loss. And then I'll give you kind of a cheat code as far as what you need to do. And then to follow up with that, I'm not just going to throw you to the wolves. We will get you involved, give you lots of resources, and we'll also make sure that we're doing pre and post in-body scans, which I just showed you mine here in just a second. We'll also be following this up with doing some high intensity exercise. So we'll give you the things that you need to do over the whole entire month. And then we'll be doing a post follow up as far as, how much body fat that you lose and how you worked on maintaining muscle mass at that point. So if you're from the Chicagoland area, you want to do this, guys, registration is going to be closing here in a couple of days, because if you haven't registered for it, at this point, I'm just like, what on earth are you waiting for? Because my staff is getting everything ready, and at some point we're going to have to shut it down. So it'll probably be shut down by Wednesday. I think that will be on the 29th or something like that. And so if you want to join that, you want to join me one-on-one at that event, then go ahead and go to our Linktree profile and you can register for it. You'll see a no sugar weight loss event in person. So you just go ahead and click on that, be there at that event at 9:00 a.m. And I will talk about some of the biggest roadblocks that people have to weight loss. And then I'll show you, here's how you make it functionally very easy. And I'll go over with you a little bit of mindset, and things like that, how you can actually start to do that. So make sure you get registered. It's free to attend that event. There is a charge to participate. I'll go over with you everything because my staff is making all the arrangements and how we're going to make that happen at that point. So make sure that you get registered for that right now. You don't have to even be from the Chicagoland area. You could drive up from 2-3 hours away, as long as, and be at that event, get the things that you need to get, and then go back home and drive back up to do your post in-body testing at that point. But no, I'm not going to be doing this online because, the reason why, guys, is that it's just, I just stopped doing online because you just get to hide behind, not doing it. Okay. And so you need some accountability and you need some inspiration in order for that to happen. And you might need someone to kick you in the butt just a little bit as well. So get registered for that right now. And guys, if you want to work one-on-one with me, and if you're from the Chicagoland area, then our next inflammation event, we had one 2 weeks ago. Our next one's going to be a week from tomorrow, which is February 3rd at 6:00 p.m. So this is an in-person event. And so whether you're having challenges in regards to weight loss, immune system issues, problems with your hormones, thyroid, chronic joint pain, all of those different things, and you need a different approach and you want to work with me one-on-one, this is your ticket in. So be at the inflammation event to understand kind of what you need to do, where you need to start. It's free to attend that event. All you got to do is just go onto our Linktree profile. It's on the top of all of our socials. If you click on that, you will see all those things that will come up, and then that will take you to Eventbrite, and it'll take you about 30 seconds to register for that event. The only thing that we ask you to do is if you get registered for it, that you are committed to showing up. Because I'm a person of my word. If I tell you I'm going to do something, then come hell or high water, I'm going to do it. And so that's why, if you register for it and you fail to show up, I will tell you this. I don't feel sorry for you when you have health issues, because you had your chance, you had your opportunity, and you just failed to take advantage of it. So make sure that you go there and get registered for that if you want to work with me one-on-one. And you want a different perspective when it comes to your health conditions and things like that. And yes, we still are open to remote consults. This is for men only that reside within the contiguous 48 states. And if you want to work with me remotely and you are not within the Chicagoland area, then go ahead and reach out to our office at 630-553-6149. Let them know, and they'll schedule you your first consult with you, and they'll get everything squared away as far as some of the things that you need to do. And at least once a week, people are like, are you doing remote consults? And if people ask me that, I know that they really just don't follow. They're not following. But here's one of the reasons why I try to keep remote consults as low as possible. Because number one, I like to see people in person. And the reason why is because if I see you in person, I'll get a pretty idea if you're just blowing smoke up my butt. And also, I'll be able to see too if if you're truly doing what you need to do, because it's hard to lie to someone face to face. So I prefer to see people face to face. But the other thing too is I'm always trying to keep it open to the person who can come in front of us and also always be available to help change and transform their life. So I know I've talked to my wife at some point. I said, you know what? I could just shut down my office and just work from home and do all remote consults. And sometimes I wonder that because, owning and operating a business, there's a lot of overhead involved with that. But I also don't want this to become a remote consult um, office, all the time because I want to be available for people who need my help, especially on a physical one-on-one basis. But if you're a man, we do have a little bit extra space for you, so make sure that you get registered. Reach out to me, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to change your life. Okay. All right. So getting into it, why herbal powders and teas don't work. Okay. Why herbal powders and teas don't work. So, guys, this is why, quit doing the chamomile tea, quit trying to boil down your dandelion root, thinking that you're doing something because the reality is it's not working. I'll explain to you why in just a second. So, this right here is very, very important because a lot of times people will ask me, well, why is it that way? Okay. Why is it that way? Here's the question that I'm going to answer for you guys. Why is there ethanol in the herbs? Will it make me drunk? Will it affect my liver? These are things that people are asking, at some point, at least one time per week. And I'm like, you know what? Let's talk about it so that these questions don't come up all the time. Now, here's something interesting because I want to ask you guys a question because some people have asked me this before. Have you ever seen supplements on an x ray? I'm like, yeah, I can see them. I see them actually quite a bit. Now, this is not an x ray of a patient. I actually, rather than look for a bunch of patients, I pulled this off of Google. And what you see right here is you'll see on an x ray, and you'll see a calcium supplement undigested within the gastrointestinal system. You can see where I've circled that right there. So, one of the things that you see is that you see an undigested calcium supplement, which means that the body is not breaking it down. It's not digesting, it's not absorbing it. And at that point, it really makes no difference what you're taking because it's not what you're taking, it's what your body has the ability to break down, absorb, be able to assimilate. Okay. And that's why I have seen this quite a bit. And this is why potency, purity, and how it's manufactured absolutely does make a difference. And here's one of the reasons why that you'll see a lot of the things that will be in liquid form. Because most people, generally speaking, especially they're coming to see me, they do have poor digestive function. Many times I see people and they're suffering with hypochlorhydria or having chronically low stomach acid, and you will have low stomach acid if you're in chronic fight or flight, if you have chronic stress, if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're on, PPIs, proton pump inhibitors, or antacids. It's just you. So that's one of the things is you do need the stomach acid in order to start breaking things down. Or you may be coming to me and you've had your gallbladder removed, or you may be suffering with a lot of bloating and things like that, which can be an indication of gastrointestinal hyperpermeability. Well, a lot of people know it as leaky gut or something like that. But all of those things really can inhibit the breakdown of certain things within the body and the absorption of things within the body, which is why if you bypass it, by delivering it within a liquid format, a lot of it gets absorbed directly right into the stomach, and it's not dependent on stomach acid, digestive enzymes, and things like that. So just remember this. It's not what you take, it's what your body can absorb and what your body can assimilate. So you go back to here, this person's taking calcium. Well, guess what? It's not absorbing, it's not assimilating. So, it's just basically like, expensive calcium. You're just not doing anything with it. So it's about not what you're taking, but it's what your body is absorbing and assimilating to be able to go in and start affecting the physiology within the body. Okay. So it begs the question of this. So how can the constituents that you are recommending, how can they be delivered to your cells easily, and how can they be delivered effectively? And here's what I want to talk about is this. When you are talking about herbs, for example, and I know some people say it's pronounced herbs. I'm like, not in the United States. So if you have a problem with how I'm pronouncing herbs, then please. So if you look at the herbs, there's a lot of constituents that will be in there. However, a lot of those constituents are bound up within the cell wall structure. So they're sitting within the cell and they're not bioavailable within the for for a person to be taking because they're locked inside a cell wall. So if you look at terpenoids and flavonoids, glycosides, things like that, a perfect example is even California poppy, which has a wonderful alkaloid in it that can actually calm down a chronic stress response. And this is why California poppy is not very effective if it's in a pill form or if it's ground down or something like that, because the bioavailable compounds are locked within a cell structure, so within the cell wall, the plant cell wall, and they're only available unless it's soaked within some kind of alcohol in order to be able to extract that and to break down the cell wall. So this is why if you talk about this, extraction is the number one thing. So yes, how their source is important, but extraction is going to be one of the most important things. And a lot of people miss the boat in regards to this because they'll say, "Oh, I can just take it as a tea," or "Oh, I can just get it off of Amazon as some kind of ground up herb." And I'm like, "No, you can't. You just can't." So that begs the question: this, if these are locked within a cell wall, what can extract these constituents that boiling or grinding cannot? And here's the answer: it's ethanol. The answer is ethanol. So an alcohol can actually extract the constituents within a herb that's locked within a cell wall that can't be achieved if you're just grinding it or if you're boiling it. Okay. And here's why ethanol is so important. So number one, it's important for extraction of the constituents that are going to make a difference in a person's health. Number one, and then number two, reason why ethanol is going to be so important is for preservation. Okay, because the ethanol will inhibit microbial growth within the actual herb, which will give it a very, very long shelf life. So ethanol in and of itself, this is why you don't have to refrigerate your vodka because it has high alcohol, and that's not going to allow spoilage to take place. And this is why a lot of our things, if you have a certain pill, let's say you're getting turmeric within a pill, you'll notice that it will have a very short shelf life because the longer it stays there, the more it can actually start to degrade. However, if it's extracted in an alcohol, that will preserve for a very, very long period of time. So when you're talking about extraction, in order to get the active constituents in it, and also to give it a longer shelf life. Here's the thing. Will it be more expensive? The answer is yes, 100%. And you know what? You'll always get what you pay for. Because when someone says, "Oh, I can get cheaper from Amazon," and I'm like, you'll get exactly what you pay for. You will always get what you pay for. That's what a lot of people don't understand. But it's for extraction and it's also for preservation, which will help to give it a longer shelf life. Okay. I'm going to give you an example of something that I think a lot of people miss the boat on. And let's talk about turmeric. All right. Let's talk about turmeric. I think turmeric is good when it's in an alcohol extraction like ethanol. But if you're just eating turmeric or you're just getting it in powder form, I really do think it's a very, very bad idea. And here's one of the reasons why. Turmeric has one of the highest concentrations of phytic acid, which are known as nutrient binders. And so it just binds nutrients. And so if you just are eating this all nilly-willy, in a ground up powder form, very high phytic acid content. So you may be taking it and it may be binding some of the other nutrients that you are eating. But here's the other thing too, if you ever noticed, is that turmeric, if it's in a powder form, you'll notice that it always comes with black pepper. And one of the reasons why is because it's in a powdered form. Well, you need the black pepper in order to release the curcuminoids that are in there. And this is why if someone comes and they have a really bad black pepper allergy and they're like, "Well, I can't have turmeric." I'm like, "Yes, you can, because the turmeric that we have contains no black pepper. You don't need it in order to, have the curcuminoids that are in there to be bioavailable." And so this is why it's so important to make sure that you are taking it correctly, that you are sourcing it correctly, and you are extracting it correctly as well. So here's the question that people will ask. "Well, if I take this, will it make me drunk?" Or they'll say, "Will the ethanol give me a fatty liver?" Here's the first thing. Number one, it will not make you drunk. All right. If you don't believe me, drink a whole bottle of turmeric and then go take a breathalyzer test. So it will not, because first pass metabolism, it will get metabolized very quickly by your liver, but it will not give you a fatty liver as well. It will not give you a fatty liver. And in fact, most people are coming in already not taking any kind of herbs, and they already do have a fatty liver, but it won't be giving you a fatty liver, because you don't get a fatty liver by taking a half teaspoon of something twice a day. You get a fatty liver because you're over consuming food, calories, fructose. You're over consuming things way, 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 way too much. And if you want to know if you have a fatty liver, go ahead and look down. And if you can grab some fat, then there's probably some fat already on your liver. But guys, it's not going to necessarily make it worse. Okay. Now, if you're concerned about the ethanol within the herbs, here's some of the things that you can do, because they're already extracted. But one of the things that you can do is, if you put it in a shot glass and you pour some boiling water in it, that can cause the ethanol to evaporate. Okay. It's already been extracted, so it's already going to be there. The constituents will be there available. But the other thing that you do, a lot of people don't realize too, is that you can go ahead and take a shot of the herbs and hold it in your mouth for 30 seconds, because the warmth within the mouth will allow the ethanol to be able to evaporate. So if you're a teetotaler and you're really worried about that, that's some of the things that you can do in order to help with it. Okay. Now, here's another question that people have, is they'll ask, why are all the herbs single ingredient? They'll say, well, why can't I get an adaptogenic blend, of California poppy and kava, or, CBD oil or something like that? Why can't I get some kind of blend? Because I can get it in a capsule form. Or why can't I get some kind of digestive blend of chamomile, and chamomile and some albizia or something like that? There's a very, very specific reason why, because there are some companies that will have blends, and you'll notice everything that we have is just one ingredient, single ingredient things. And here's one of the reasons why. Okay. Here's one of the it's kind of the dirty secret of supplement companies, because I want you to think of this. If you're doing some kind of like male testosterone booster blends that's in a capsule form, number one, here's the problem, is you can't get those things in a high enough concentration, to be able to move the needle when it comes to your testosterone. I always laugh. I get a little of a guffaw, when people are like, I'm taking Testo Boost 9000, from GNC. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, because there's 19, ingredients in there, and they think that they're actually in every capsule, and it's not. And here's one of the reasons why. If you look at herbs, for example, if you decided, I'm going to dump a bunch of herbs in a vat, and then what I'm going to do is going to try to mix it around, and then I'm going to dip dip the bottle into the herbs, and then hopefully I'm getting an equal blend of, ashwagandha or chamomile or something like that. And the thing is they can never tell you if what's on the label is actually in the bottle, because they're all mixed together. That's why you need one thing and put it in the bottle, so you know exactly what you are getting. The problem is that when you're mixing all of those together, you never know what the concentration of it is going to be in the bottle, or even if it's actually in there, which is why everything that we do, because if you are talking about medicinal herbs, you need to know exactly what you are getting and how you are concentrating it in order to have a therapeutic effect. Okay. Now, some people, I've ran into people like this. They'll say, well, I'm just going to go get it cheaper. I'm going to do whatever. I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do this. And it just comes down to being coachable, guys. And you're like, well, how do you handle that? And here's what I tell people is this: you can do whatever you want, but it's not going to address your concerns, nor is it going to even solve your problems. And, I have people who are so adamant that they know best. And I'm like, well, you can do whatever you want. Come back to me. Let me know how it's working for you. And it's not. So, but the thing is the reason why I go live and the reason why I see people is to change and impact their life. And basically, if you look at this, it's all about clinical results. It's all about clinical results. But just remember this. So if you talk about service, and this is one of my favorite quotes, we offer three kinds of service: good, cheap, and fast. So everybody wants good service. They want it cheap, and they want it done fast. They want it done correctly. The problem is when you talk about it, you really only can choose two. You can have good and you can have cheap, but it won't be fast. You can have fast and you can have good, but it won't be cheap. And you can have cheap and you can have fast, but it won't be good. So kind of, reminds you how a lot of people eat. Cheap and fast food, that's not very good. Fast and good food, and it's not very cheap. Good food and cheap food doesn't happen very quickly. So you can have those things, but you only get to choose two. But the reality is everybody wants good clinical results. They want it cheap and they want it fast, but it really just is impossible to be able to do that. And really what it comes down to, guys, is it comes down to clinical results. I am obsessed with clinical results, which means everything that I choose, everything that I select, everything that I do is for you to be able to get clinical results. But you know what can be just so frustrating dealing with people? And yes, people ask me, do I ever get frustrated? I'm like, every day, every day, every day. But everybody thinks that you're all about treating things and treating that, and MDs are just way off base when they try to talk about what we do. And it's about restoring health, about restoring function, and it's not about treating disease or treating anything like that. You need to focus on getting your health back and not trying to, I'm going to do the no sugar challenge so that I can feel better, because there's many things that are affecting your health, and that's why it's called the Swiss watch principle. But if you start doing enough things in order to start lowering down stressors and start supporting the body the way that it's supposed to, this is why we get the clinical results that we do. Now, remember I talked about turmeric, and I wanted to show you kind of a spotlight in regards to turmeric. Now, if I ask people, why would you take turmeric? Everybody would talk about my joints hurting or things like that. And I actually think that there's better things. Now, the curcuminoids within turmeric, can it help with acute inflammation? The answer is yes, that it can. I don't think that it's going to block, pain sensation as well as some very, very powerful narcotics in the least bit. However, turmeric has way more functions than just for inflammation or things like that. Well, a lot of things that people don't realize, if you look at turmeric, turmeric has some natural, mild antidepressant qualities to it. The other thing too is turmeric also has some benefit as far as stimulating the contraction of the gallbladder in order to be able to release bile. It's one of the reasons why we do that at certain points during detox in order to help stimulate gallbladder contraction to get rid of all the junk that the liver is metabolizing. So turmeric has a huge crossover effect, but the problem with turmeric is that it's all bound up with phytic acids, and so that's why taken in powder form, I just like, it's not good, it's not good, it's not good. You need it extracted by an alcohol in order to have maximum benefit with that. So if you think that you would benefit from turmeric, and I'll be honest with you, I don't take it. I really don't take it ever. I mean, only because I really think, just based off my lifestyle, it's not something that's going to benefit me. But some people are like, gosh, I need it, I need it, I need it. And if you feel that you need it, then all you need to do is just go onto our Linktree profile and you'll see the Wellness Way store right there. If you click on that, create an account, and then just make sure that when you check out, if you put in the code 5058, that will authorize you to be able to get some turmeric. And the reason why I have that code is because it's tied to my name. And so that way they know that I've talked about it, and people aren't just becoming lazy supplement takers. That's the thing I don't want people to become, is to become a lazy supplement taker. All right. All right. So coming up, guys, the No Sugar Weight Loss Challenge in person, January 31st, 2026. That will be this Saturday, coming up at 9 o'clock a.m. in our office. I will be talking about the biggest roadblocks to weight loss. I will give you a plan as far as what you need to start doing in order to start moving the needle in regards to that. And so if you want to be at that, just go on to our Linktree and you'll just see the No Sugar Weight Loss event in person. So you'll click on that, and that will help you to get registered for it, because it only takes about 30 seconds to register. It's very easy to do. And then, guys, our inflammation talk that's coming up on Tuesday, February 3rd. So this is a week from tomorrow is our next inflammation event. We already have a lot of people registered for it. However, if you want to be there, make sure that you go on there and get registered for it. if you're from the Chicagoland area, because this is an in-person event. If you want to work with me directly, your ticket in is to be at that event. We have a gift for you at the event. So just click on the link tree and then you'll see the inflammation event. You'll see it shake, on there. So you know exactly that you are in the right place. So herbal powders and teas, they don't work, guys. They don't. And in fact, if you look at a lot of the things that we recommend, um, because I could name off literally 15 herbs right now, astragalus, albizia, chamomile, bacopa, turmeric, Oregon grape, golden seal. There's there's so many different things that are there, but the manufacturing and the extraction really does make all of the difference. And that's why, guys, you need to stop doing it in powders. You got to stop doing it with teas. And also, you just got to stop doing it willy nilly as if you're just trying like a blind squirrel that's trying to find some kind of nut. And guess what? A blind squirrel will find a nut every now and then, but I want you actually with your eyes on the target and working with someone who knows exactly how to get you from point A to point B as quickly as possible, and not for you to spend the next 10 years trying to figure out your health journey. This is why coaching is going to be so important. So just bite the bullet, get to the inflammation talk, get to the weight loss talk that's coming up. I can't wait to see you guys at that event. Next week, I will be going live. And in fact, I'll probably talk a little bit about the No Sugar Challenge and where you go from there if you have been part of the No Sugar Challenge. How do you make sure that you don't end up, in this just, void? I don't know what to do next. And so I'll help talk you through it. Here's what I would do in order to do that. So I've been going strong, guys, for, for over a month now. And the whole idea is I'm doing it for my health. I'm not here to have a performance. I'm doing it for me. I'm doing it for my health. And I'm also kind of doing it to look ripped as well. So I am doing it for some selfish reasons as well. However, I do like that, as does my wife. So, but just make sure, guys, that you just start doing it correctly. Start doing it right. Be coachable. Always learn. And so I'll be back next week to talk about what do you do after the No Sugar Challenge. So, guys, I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you sharing this video. I appreciate you following our page. Be well, be blessed. Remember who you are. I will see you next week. Share this video. If you have a question, just reach out to me on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube. I'll do my best to answer that question for you. So, guys, I will see you next week. Thank you so much for liking our page, for following our page. And I will see you very soon.